Hi there, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share with you my step-by-step recipe for hot cross buns. You will find the list of ingredients and my method below this video. So today I'll be making a relatively large batch of cross buns, and I want to start by soaking 2 cups of raisins in hot water, and I'm going to pour the water in there and set it aside for a little while. And while that is soaking, I will be preparing my other ingredients. So my raisins have been soaking for about 10 minutes and I had some time to prepare my other ingredients. I'm now going to drain, and then I am going to chop them up as finely as possible. You could also throw these in a blender and just give it a twirl. I like raisins, but I don't like them whole, and I'm trying to get them as small as possible so that really you can enjoy the flavor throughout the bun. And now I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of honey to my raisins and set that aside. It's time now to activate our yeast. So I will use 4 teaspoons of yeast, and I'm adding that to warm milk. Now you need the milk to be warm. A temperature of 120 degrees Fahrenheit should be adequate. And then just give that a stir and set that aside. So we're going to put our dry ingredients together now. In my bowl I have 6 cups of flour. I'm going to add 8 tablespoons of brown sugar, and then I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon nutmeg, and 1/4 teaspoon of clove. And I'm also going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and then I'm going to give that a good stir so that everything blends together nicely. And now it's time to add our raisins. We've had it sitting there for a little while. Make sure you get all of that goodness, the rich sweetness of the raisins into that flour. Then we're going to add 4 tablespoons of butter. I used margarine. And then we're going to give that a good mix. Now ensure you wash your hands before you do this. The last thing you want is to get any particles in there. So give it a good mix with your fingers. Get in there. You want to ensure that the raisins and the butter is well blended with the flour, and loosen as well. Try to avoid the clumps in your flour. So just use your finger nicely and massage it, and massage everything together and get it nice and loose. And now that your dry ingredients is completely blended, we're going to go ahead and add our milk with our yeast, and adding as well 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence to my mixture there. So you can go ahead and put a nice little hole in your flour, and then start adding your wet ingredients. To that I'm going to add 2 eggs. And then I'm going to blend it all together with my hand again. You could also use a spatula for this, but I like to use my hands because it really gives me an opportunity to, bring everything together. I like to ensure that everything is well blended. So you go ahead and give that a really good stir with those fingers, and keep adding your milk as you go. Remember, the milk has the yeast in it already, and that has been sitting aside for about 5 minutes. So your yeast has been activated. Now your dough needs to be as soft as possible, not runny but sticky. If you'd notice there, my mixture is very soft, so don't be afraid or don't be worried. It's quite all right. And I'm adding some more milk. I want to get this as soft as possible without it becoming runny. Getting everything off of the side of the bowl. And then when I'm through, I'm going to just cover this and leave this out on the counter for about an hour. Doesn't it look delicious already? I'm adding just a little more milk in there. And I'm going to continue to give this a really big stir, ensure that everything is well blended together there. Now this takes some time, but really to be able to get the best cross buns, it's going to be soft and it's going to be rich, and you're going to get that sweetness from the raisins and the honey and the sugar. So my dough has been sitting for an hour. See how fluffy that is? It has risen to the top, and now I'm just gonna give that a gentle touch. See how sticky that is? That's the way you want it. It is going to be delicious. So you're going to need some extra flour while kneading your dough. So I've set aside 2 cups of flour, and to that I added 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So I'm going to use that flour now to knead my dough. Now, as you knead it, you will notice that it's still a bit sticky on the inside. That is fine. Just continue to add a little flour at a time, just to keep it from sticking to your countertop. I've already greased 2 large pans, and so as I knead, I'm going to really knead this out, creating a very long dough, and then I'm going to cut from there. Now if this gets too big for you, just cut it in half, and you can work with half at a time. Great, so it's now time to prepare these for the pan, and I'm cutting them up into small pieces, and then I'm going to roll them into balls. Nice little balls, and you're gonna place them in your pan. Now with 6 cups of flour and 2 cups of raisins, my yield was 21 cross buns, and they were pretty large. So if you want to make a large batch, you could still use the 6 cups of flour, and you may wish to make them a little smaller. That's fine, you'll get more. And if you want to make less cross buns, then you can just reduce all the measurements below by half. Great, so now that these are ready, you're going to let them sit out on the counter for 30 to 45 minutes. And while you wait, you can prepare your glaze for your cross buns. So to a warm pan, you're going to add a tablespoon of butter, and you're just going to swirl this around so that it begins to melt. And then you're going to add 2 tablespoons of sugar and a quarter of a cup of water, and you're just going to let this sit on the heat for a little while until it starts to get thick, not too thick. Alright, so stir that together. It's going to get really nice and thick in a little while. When it starts to bubble, you're going to see some really small bubbles like you see there in mine. It's pretty much ready. So this part takes about 2 or 3 minutes. It's important to keep stirring while this is on the heat. It's almost through. You can see the bubbles in the pan. Just keep stirring, and then you're going to just take this off and set it aside. And it's now time to put our cross buns into the oven. You need to preheat your oven to 350 degrees, and you're going to bake these for about 15 minutes. And then you're going to take them out and add your cross. I'm going to show you how to make your cross in a minute. So I'm using flour, and I'm going to add my cross to the bun. And in my bowl, I have there 2 tablespoons of flour, a teaspoon of sugar, just a little water. And then I'm going to put this into a piping bag and apply them to my cross buns. So while your buns, once it has been in there for about 15 minutes, you can take them out and apply your mixture there on your cross buns, and then put it back into the oven. And you're gonna let these bake for another 5 or 10 minutes until they're golden brown. And there you go. You apply your glaze to your buns when they're hot. So just out of the oven, then you apply your glaze. Doesn't it look delicious? And the glaze is just perfect. They look so delicious, and they're so soft. I'm actually having a hard time trying to pry this one out of the pan. Oh boy, I think I just severed a piece of my bun, but it's so soft. It's really tender, and this is why I was explaining to you earlier, you need to have your dough, when you're mixing your dough, it needs to be really soft. Don't forget, the recipe is below. Send me your comments and let me know what you think about this recipe. Thank you for watching.